Is it fair to say that police brutality is widespread? And when I say widespread, I mean it exists in many countries. And some countries don't even prosecute it. And even in countries that do prosecute it, is it really being dealt with as it should be? Intimidation, racial profiling, false arrest, surveillance abuse, corruption of the institutional variety. These are all forms of police misconduct going on somewhere in the world as I speak. And of course, in some parts of the world, it's not uncommon for the police to act as a tool of political repression. What some countries are lacking is an independent national body which is there to effectively and impartially deal with public complaints regarding police misconduct. A country like Indonesia, for example, doesn't have this. A lot of police violence has gone on in that country over the years and decades. Protesters being killed by police bullets, journalists being beaten up just for trying to uncover the truth. And of course, Indonesia isn't the only country where this sort of thing goes on. A lot of people see the cops as oppressors, people who are employed to keep them down. When talking about police brutality, I often hear those of the right-wing persuasion try to brush it off by saying, "Oh, it's only a few bad apples within the force. Most cops are good, upstanding, law-abiding officers. It's only a tiny minority who've let their authority go to their head." And the same line is often trotted out when talking about police misconduct generally. Isn't the bad apple line simply an easy way out, though? A broad report by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on the causes of police misconduct called the bad apple paradigm a simplistic explanation that permits the organisation and senior management to blame corruption on individuals and individual faults, behavioural, psychological, background factors, and so on, rather than addressing systematic factors. And the report itself goes on to discuss systematic factors, including deficiencies in internal accountability mechanisms, pressures to conform to certain aspects of police culture, such as the Blue Code of Silence, and this is an interesting factor, command and control structures within a rigid hierarchical foundation. One study reviewed in the report concludes, quote, "Results indicate that the more rigid the hierarchy, the lower the scores on a measure of ethical decision-making," end quote. A quick search through YouTube indicates that police brutality is alive and well here in the United Kingdom. I was just watching a video simply titled Police Brutality UK, in which a woman, Stephanie Rutter, is pinned down on the floor inside a jail cell by 4 cops. She's stripped naked. Why? I don't know. One cop has her knee on the back of Stephanie's head. One is standing on her legs, while the others are putting her in restraints. And she's obviously terrified. She's screaming her head off. She was left covered in cuts and bruises. She'd been arrested after an argument with her boyfriend, and she was charged with attacking the police, but the charges were later dropped when the CCTV of the police brutality was produced at Runcorn Magistrates Court. Now, personally, I think stuff like this is going on pretty much most of the time up and down the country. Police taking liberties with people in their custody, I mean. I can remember a few years ago when a cop from Wiltshire, I think it was, dragged a woman of 57 years across the floor of a police station and threw her like a rag doll face down in the cell. Blood was pouring from her head. She needed stitches, obviously. Again, like the Stephanie Rutter case, just a tiny little woman getting thrown around and roughed up by the police. Disgusting. Disgusting. Do I even need to mention countries like the United States, Russia, and China when it comes to issues of police corruption and brutality? Some of the video footage I've seen over the years, there aren't even words to describe it. I don't know about you, but I don't trust the police. And based on my own experience, as well as my own observations, I think we need to do a much better job of making the cops accountable to the citizens they supposedly serve. Okay, that'll do. See you later, folks. Take it easy.